Now, Servcorp is an Australian company which has pioneered the concept of the serviced office space which is fully fitted with the latest technical equipment. The company also created virtual offices which allow clients to operate businesses from anywhere in the world using customised information technology to stay connected. Now, Servcorp already operates in 14 countries. It's now revealed plans for 50 more offices in its quest to significantly boost its global presence. Moufarrige is the Chief Information Officer with Servcorp, and he joins us now from the Sydney CBD studio. Marcus, thank you very much for your time. And interesting to hear of these big expansion plans globally, particularly the fact that 10 of these new planned offices are going to be in the United States, which is you're opening there for the first time, that means. I understand that the competition for serviced office space is quite stiff there. How does the strategy differ when you expand into those more mature markets compared to expanding into some of the other areas that you're in already across Asia, for example?
This has been a pretty long-term strategy. We have been looking for the right time, the right opportunity to get into the US, and obviously the rental market is perfect for that. But what we're doing is really just targeting very key locations, premier locations that are going to be, I guess, keynote addresses for our clients as part of our platform. And also we've heavily differentiated ourselves by building a technology platform, so all of our services are available online, and really what we're doing is expanding a really successful platform rollout across the Asian region and through the Middle East into the US.
In your role, you're obviously quite firmly focused on the development of the company's IT services. What do you actually say is a competitive edge that will give you the chance of success in, again, such a mature and competitive space?
Well, we've been building the platform over a period of 10 years, so there's a long history of building, I guess, unique intellectual property, and also we've been working in the online space for an extended period of time. So we've got a bit of a lead against any of our competitors in the marketplace in terms of the services that we can provide online, and really the accessibility for clients and the control that they have over their workspace anywhere in the world.
Are you still seeing opportunities in that market out of the recent financial crisis in the form of acquisitions of distressed competitors?
We haven't necessarily grown by acquisition at all. We've grown organically and typically grown out of cash flow for the last 30 years. So acquisitions aren't high on our priority list, but there are some opportunities that will present themselves in those markets as people are still reeling from a pretty extended downturn in the US. So we think we will see some opportunities there, but it's certainly a great time for us just to acquire space to add to the portfolio.
And what about expansion plans into the British market as well?
We just opened London, so we opened London at the beginning of this year, and we will be extending the portfolio in London. But we're not looking to open multitudes of offices in these particular markets, rather be a key location that adds access, premier access for our clients, as opposed to, say, covering the whole of London with locations. We just want to have the very best.
And in terms of, I guess, the expansion globally, I mean, everyone's interested at the moment in China and the powerhouse economy there. I know that you deal with businesses on the ground already there, and I think you've got 5 different locations.
Correct.
How are these small businesses in China faring? Because the understanding is that they haven't benefited a lot from the government stimulus there. I just wonder what sort of observations you're making about the Chinese economy from the businesses that you're in contact with there.
Yeah, a lot of our clients are multinationals, particularly in those markets where it's a little more difficult to operate. And China historically has been a little bit like that, but it's getting easier and easier. They certainly reeled a little bit when the global financial crisis took hold, but we're certainly seeing a resurgence. And in fact, the overall momentum of small to medium enterprises that are using things like our virtual office platform in China is really pushing forward. And for the first time, we're starting to see some real growth in China. We've been there since 1999, and we had a fantastic rise in our physical office spaces. We built the platform there. But now a lot of small to medium enterprise Chinese companies are really starting to get into the area where they're looking to operate on a global scale, and or to international standards, and when we're seeing some growth in China there now, so that will also be part of our expansion plan.
I guess one of the bigger concerns about China has been potential bubbles, and property has obviously been the subject of a lot of that discussion. Have you seen that much, or in terms of how closely do you watch that issue? How does that affect you?
I think that the property market in China did have has had some peaks and troughs, and our traditional office business is affected by that cycle. But we've been using the technology and building the technology platform around our virtual office business, which is certainly helping to buffer us. And although we've been affected by the cycle in China to a certain extent, and the trading conditions are reasonably tough, the virtual office business is really showing some growth in China. So we think in the future, and as they do have peaks and troughs, we're going to be a lot better protected.
And what about the Australian market? What are your observations here? Obviously, we've come through the crisis quite well in terms of Australia as a whole. Give us your observations about specifically the market that you're operating in, and your projections.
Well, we think Australia's in great shape. We think the market here is pretty robust, and certainly the office market in Sydney is tightening up again, and we're actually outperforming in Australia. And we think that the market is in pretty fantastic shape, actually.
Do you think that, obviously one of the big issues we're talking about here at the moment as well is climate change and carbon emission controls. Do you see that your company would be one to benefit from a carbon-constrained economy? In some ways, the aspects of maybe travel costs starting to rise,
yeah.
Or I guess other costs of doing business will rise as well. Where do you see how you'll benefit, or how you'll be disadvantaged in that situation?
Look, the technology platform that we've built is specifically built around helping people to commute less. So people who are telecommuting, people who are working from home, people who don't want to travel to multiple locations but want to reach a client base there. I mean, the virtual office capability means that an Australian business person can actually run a telephone number in Singapore or in Shanghai and get access to that massive market, and have their telephone answered by a Chinese person in Shanghai, and the call can be transferred directly back to Sydney. And we do that all over a network platform, so all the calls come back over the internet, so the costs are very low. So in terms of giving business people access to a much larger market with a lot less travel involved, I think we're certainly right in the right place, and actually going to help contribute greatly to the reduction of carbon in business.
And Marcus, can I just finally ask you, what's the current guidance to the market at the moment about your financial performance? Well,
trading conditions have been tough, and we told the market that our trading conditions were reasonably tough, and they weren't expecting to necessarily get better before the end of the financial year. So it's been reasonably tough, but it's a two-edged sword. So it's been great for us to increase our capabilities in terms of extending the platform with reduced rental rates. But actually, it's the trading conditions in the traditional office business have been tough. But the virtual office business, as I said, is growing pretty substantially. And look, we expect the office business to come roaring back. At some stage. It has been a cyclical business, and will continue to be a cyclical business. But we're looking at a pretty healthy 2011 as the expansion and the virtual platform takes hold.
Marcus Moufarrige, thank you very much. Great to have you on board today, and we appreciate your time.
Pleasure, thank you.